All right, welcome back. So today we are going to be working on the tracker again, but we're gonna do something a little different today. We're gonna be comparing lift kits. Recently I found a lift in the junkyard. Yeah, junkyard, it's my style, right? A 2-inch lift, aftermarket lift it's got aftermarket control arms, it's got a diff drop bracket kit. It has different struts. It had rear springs as well, but those springs I didn't get them because they're all sagged out. Anyway, so we're gonna compare the pros and cons of a 2-inch puck lift. You've probably seen in my previous videos. If not, the link is right here. I installed a 2-inch lift on this thing. It was just a puck lift, the cheap. I got another one sitting right here. This kind, lift kit. So we're gonna compare one of those versus doing an aftermarket one with the control arms and everything. The company, I'm not going to name the company that makes this because I'm not promoting them, and unfortunately they have really terrible customer service, and so I'm not going to be naming them. Anyway, but it's something interesting to look at a comparison. So if another company comes out with something, we'll see what we see here. So what we're going to be comparing right here is we're going to compare, first thing we're look at is angle of the shaft. Okay, right there we're looking at 23.1 degrees. That's the angle of the CV shaft. So the reason that matters is this right here, torn boots. See how steep that angle is? And this is at full droop. Remember, this is at full droop. So ride height, it's a little bit above this, but still, that's one of the challenges with lifting. This kind of lift is it pushes those CV axles down. So again, right here, that says 23.6, 23.5 degrees. Yep, that's what we're gonna start with. So that's one angle we're gonna measure. The other angle we're gonna measure is our camber right here. So reason we're measuring this one because when you do a 2-inch puck lift, you have to put a camber bolt in the top to pull the top of your tire back in. Looking at the aftermarket control arm, it's a little bit longer, so it supposedly corrects that camber. We're gonna see. So at full droop, we're looking at, let's see here. Let's see if we can turn this. I know it's not completely scientific. We're gonna turn it so it's pretty close to straight up and down there. And we're looking at 85.2. Ooh, yeah. So we're looking at 85.2 degrees there. The other thing we can look at here is that the angle of our strut, that says 82.7. Oh, let's turn that so it's pretty straight. That says 82. So those are gonna be our measurements before. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this. I know I don't have the spring in there, it doesn't matter because your full droop is measured off of your strut, because that's what's gonna let it go all the way down. What I should do, actually I'm gonna pull this top puck out of the strut. Let's pull this back up to stock height and see where our measurements line up. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay. So just like that, I pulled the spacer out of the top of the strut, and so we're back to stock height here. So let's look at the comparison here. Let's turn this thing as straight up and down as we can, and that's saying 87.9 there. Let's look here on the strut itself. That's saying 80.7, give or take. Look straight. And then on the axle here, I've got about a 16-degree angle. So let's that's a stock height. That's kind of where it was designed for. Now we're going to throw on the aftermarket control arm, and we're gonna see how it lines up. In case you've noticed, I kind of have it pretty loose in here. I'm in the process of doing bigger brakes. You'll see that in another video. It might be out before this one. If it is, the link is right here. Anyway, doing a lot of stuff on this, but I want to do this lift comparison just to see the differences from one to the other, why you would go to an aftermarket lift versus just going with a 2-inch puck lift. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna figure this out. Okay, so I pulled the control arms off. I want to show you the difference between them. So if you look here, this is the stock control arm. The ball joint screws on the bottom, it goes underneath here, and the bolts go down through the top. The aftermarket one, the ball joint goes on top, and the bolts go down through. So that's a little different. Not sure if I like that, but I'm actually gonna end up running these just for fun. The other comparison, so you notice the spring perch, this one here, kind of where the spring sits, is, you know, we'll just call it somewhat level with the ball joint mount here. The aftermarket one, you actually have quite a lot of difference there, about probably 2.5 inches difference between here and here. But then again, if this is a 2-inch lift, instead of putting a spacer, and this doesn't take a spacer on the spring, so instead of putting spacer on top of the spring, this is basically the equivalent of putting the spacer on the bottom of the spring. Where's my spacer? There it is. Spacer. So let's look at this. So if you put the ball joint on top of that, bring that up a little bit, you are very close. This might be just a smidgen higher as far as that goes. So it's almost the equivalent of putting the spacer on there. Now let's throw them on top of each other, see how that looks. Right here. All right. See if I can get these things to line up. Sorry for the camera angle here. All right. So I'm trying to line up as best as I can. So you got your sway bar mount there. Got the front, got the back. If you look straight down here, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the bottom one is longer. So this control arm here is a little bit longer. I wonder if I could put a measurement on there. Just a second. Let's see if I can get a measurement on this thing. Oh, look. Hot dog stick. So, let's run a hot dog stick through here. Let's take a measurement. Really, tape measure here. I don't know if I'm going to do this one-handed or not. I'm going to tape measure on it. All right, let's see if I can set you guys down. Let's see if I can set you guys down so you can see. Yeah, you can see. Okay, so I took tape measure and tape measure underneath here. So that hot dog stick sitting in the bottom of the hole, which will represent the center. So it's the center of those holes to the center of the, we're just going to say the third hole. So this inside hole, center of that hole. We're just going to measure kind of an eyeball measurement here. From there to there, I'm seeing 13 inches. 13 inches on the aftermarket one. Bring the stock one over here. Yeah, same thing. Run our hot dog stick through there. That's approximately center there. Let's go. I use the old ichrometer here. Eyeball that there. I'm about 12 3/8. So I've got about 5/8 of an inch. This aftermarket arm, if you're wondering if you know what brand that color is, this used to be painted that color. If you know, you know. Anyway, so about 5/8 of an inch longer from the center of this hole to the center of this hole here than the stock. So what that's going to help us with is when you bring the arm down, it goes in. The further down you rotate it, the further in it goes. And so to correct your camber on your tire, you got to kick the bottom of that back out. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap this back in there, and then we're gonna take some measurements. Okay, so I'm in process of installing the aftermarket lift, and so I wanted to show you just so you can see the difference. This is the difference between the bracket, the stock bracket, and this is the diff drop bracket. You can see there's about, I don't know, inch and a half of difference there. So this is the driver's side one, this is the passenger side one. So yeah, there's a little bit of difference there, so something to point out. Thought it'd be important. So yeah, got the lower control arm in it. I'm putting the diff drop bracket in it, and then we'll be right back to show you. We'll start measuring. Okay, we're back. I got the aftermarket control arm put in there. It was a pig to get in there, mostly because my tracker's been bounced off a few rocks. Things are not exactly straight. Anyway, so let's look at our angles now. The strut, so I gotta figure out what they were running for struts, because that's the one in the junkyard. That's my stock strut. Lay them down side by side and they're the same. So whoever had this before me, the one in the junkyard, that truck, they had stock struts and they did not have a spacer up here. So I'm still trying to figure out how it was working, because they were running basically a 2-inch spacer on the spring, but stock strut. Whatever, right? But now we're gonna look at our angles. So, okay, I got diff drop brackets are in there. Now we've got on our thing here, we're running, that's saying 88 degrees there, which is 0.2, 0.3 away from what it was stock. I'll see if I can throw all these numbers into a spreadsheet so you can look at them. That's what I'll do. That's there. Onto the strut there, we got 80.9, and then make sure our axle's pushed all the way in. You see our little groove there for the O-ring, or the snap ring, and we're 18.5. So, I don't know. The control arm, it looks like it corrects your camber, which I think you can do with a camber bolt. I am running my strut spacer up here so I can get the actual 2 inches of lift. Because without that, you don't get any lift at all. Because what controls how far this droops down is your strut. So if you put a 2-inch spacer up here, it moves that down 2 inches. So no camber bolt here. I know it's not bolted all the way together. It doesn't really matter for what we're doing. No camber bolt here, just the regular stock bolts. And yeah, so I think the only reason, okay, I'll throw the table with all the measurements in it for you here. This is passenger side only. I haven't done the driver's side yet. I'm not going to put it in this video because it's going to be a very similar result, what you're going to see. So what I see so far is it corrects your camber by moving the bottom of the spindle out. The diff drop bracket here gives you a better CV angle, so you're not running as steep of an angle on your CV joint. And that's about it. If I had to say if I had to choose between paying, I think this kit online is like $900. It comes with the control arm, struts. It doesn't come with springs. It comes with the diff drop bracket, and then it comes with rear springs and rear shocks. I think that's what it comes with. If I had to choose between paying $900 for that and $100 for a set of the puck lift, I'd buy the puck lift. And $100 plus this pair of shocks, so 150, maybe $200, depends on the shocks you buy. So, yeah. 200 bucks versus, and then a camber bolt. I mean, 200 bucks versus 900 bucks. Take the 200 any day. But this one was junkyard, it was cheap, and I was pulling it off so I could get the brakes and everything else. So for me, it was worth it because it was cheap. But for you, I'll let you decide. So anyway, thanks for watching.